Hi, my name is James Bell and I'm Chief Executive Officer of UNE Open and General Manager of the University of New England's Future Campus in Parramatta. What we're trying to do is do learning and education better, particularly university education. Something that better reflects the additional capacity that we have when we use technology and bandwidth in learning environments. And our technology has come a long way in the last couple of decades. I think there's a gradual realization that we're now actually really living in the 21st century. And while I know that when I think of the 21st century, jetpacks and flying cars were the first two things I expected to already have, one thing we do have is this fantastic tool called the World Wide Web and the internet. It's the greatest information dissemination tool that's available to us. And it's giving us unparalleled access to knowledge in a freely democratic environment in most instances. And it's changing the way that we actually view the world and ourselves. In a learning environment, what it means is that anyone, anywhere, at any time, and at a price that they want to pay, can now learn whatever intrigues them, whatever piques their curiosity. And this concept of control is something that I think is pretty important. When we use technology, we're generally in control of the technology, and it permeates our mindset. We expect to be in control. When we're accessing the internet, we choose the device. We choose what we want to access. We choose when, where, how we're going to access it. And we also decide if we want to access free information or if we want to pay for that access to information. You've got a group of Mexican primary school kids who were struggling on national tests, living in a socioeconomically depressed area, who, when they were put in charge of their learning, when they were given a computer and the internet to actually shape their own learning, just absolutely aced all of the national exams. Negroponte reported one of the outcomes from the One Laptop Per Child initiative in Ethiopia, where they conducted another experiment around how children would interact with technology in a learning environment. They went to two remote rural villages in Ethiopia where literacy was zero or close to zero. These people had never seen a book before, and they left a sealed carton right in the middle of the village and left and then observed what would happen. As Negroponte reported, within 4 minutes, a child had opened the box and turned on the device. Within 2 weeks, they were singing basic nursery rhymes in English. And the thing that was probably most staggering, in my opinion, was within a few months, they had actually hacked the operating system so that they could have access to the camera. Now, we've got completely naive users here who have been given complete control over their learning when we've given them the technology. And I think these results are so startling that we cannot avoid the fact that technology is an enabler for learning, whether it's in a formal learning environment or, even more importantly, in lifelong learning contexts. I'd argue that because of the role of technology, we're now in a time where absorption is far more important than instruction. You'll see, you probably will have seen, a number of articles floating around on the internet that now, because of MOOCs, you can get an MBA for free. And the truth isn't far off. You could learn all of the subject content that would be contained within a traditional MBA without ever having to pay money or set foot in a traditional learning environment. You've got university level education taken outside of the university. And for so long, we've thought about education as being contained within four walls, when it no longer needs to be. The internet is a fantastic tool for sharing knowledge, for communicating with other people, and for acquiring new knowledge. I've spoken about maximizing distribution and maximizing penetration. And this is probably the greatest asset that the internet provides us. Being always on and always connected means that information is always distributed and it always penetrates. There's been constant talk about millennials and the lack of loyalty that they have as a generation, and it's evidenced by the amount of times that they change jobs and what they actually expect in those jobs. I don't necessarily think that that's really what's important here. I think that change is accelerating, and given that people, even outside this generation, are changing their jobs more frequently, changing their careers, we need to be looking at how that can be a positive thing. And if you're looking to change a job, if you're looking to upskill, if you're looking to change a career and reinvent yourself, the technology and bandwidth now gives you the tool to do that. You don't need to be stuck doing a job that you don't like. You can learn something that would allow you to get the job that you do want. Now, if we look at marketing as a profession and something that's quite popular for students to actually go into as a career, how we do marketing still has a core set of fundamentals, but we're having to do it differently. And if you want to learn how to do social, there's a huge range of possibilities for you. And most of them will actually fall outside of the traditional learning environment. Sure, you can go to university and do a degree, but you'll get just as much information in non-traditional lifelong learning environments. You'd get it from an expert's blog, from a webinar, going to LinkedIn as an example, and going into one of the specialist groups. When it comes to online, and when you talk to students, they want to learn the knowledge that will best suit them. And they want to be able to put it into practice in the ways that actually mean something for them as well. Google is still, outside of China, the most popular search engine globally. But it might surprise you to know that YouTube is actually the second. But when it comes to teenagers, YouTube is the most popular search engine. What does this mean? We have a generation of learners coming through the system who expect video content. They expect to be able to rate and share that content. They expect to be able to produce their own content and maybe even improve on that content. We have a generation of people who expect education, who expect the internet, and who are increasingly expecting to have control over the information that they access and what that they can use that for in a tailored and personalized context. It means that we're getting into a situation where technology and bandwidth will become expected. We have a generation of people coming through whose experience and capacity with technology is far deeper and richer than certainly mine is. And I think it's important to think about going long on education, particularly lifelong education. It might be a little bit controversial to say this, but I often think about lifelong learning as being an upgrade to our software. People are effectively upgrading their software when they do lifelong learning. And it's important, considering what we've spoken about, that they're in charge of how they upgrade their software. I would very strongly argue that edutainment is driving a lot of how we're doing education better, particularly when we've got technology and bandwidth underpinning the learning. Lifelong learning is a habit, it's a philosophy, and it's something that will become increasingly important for individuals over the coming decades. Technology and access to the internet truly enable our ability to undertake lifelong learning specific to what we're looking to achieve for ourselves. Lifelong learning gives us an opportunity to improve our value across time, be it for personal or for professional outcomes. I predict online education will only grow in popularity because it's putting learners in control. It meets their needs in ways that we didn't really think of before. As individuals, the pressure to improve, to change, increasing frequency of job and career transitions, all of these things, the pressure to be better, aren't going to go away. And I think it's important that we come to terms with this and view it as a positive thing. Because we have these brilliant tools at our hands or at our fingertips, technology and bandwidth coupled with what we want to do with information, we'll start to see some really interesting things pop up. Fantastic blends of social, online, face-to-face, digital, social learning, and things that we haven't even thought of now. I think it's important to really engage with the concept of technology's enabler in learning. Its ability to influence change on a global scale is something that we can only achieve through what we've got with the internet. And I think that technology and bandwidth, given what we've already seen with naive users and the fantastic outcomes that they could achieve when they were put in control using technology to drive their learning, are the best example of how technology and bandwidth enable our lifelong learning. Thank you very much.